Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I am your hardcore host, Rick Head, and welcome to a special edition of Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Tonight, we have the distinct pleasure to speak with former WWE talent, Eric Escobar. Eric, what's shaking?
Hey, not much, man. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. Before we get going, let's introduce the panel. Eric knows him. He's the classic wrestling manager, Joseph Knight. Joe, what's up?
Nothing much. It's great to meet you, Eric, and definitely would like to hear how everything goes in your side.
And
Ah,
and I want to also introduce you to the incomparable Lance Moss over at youtube.com/Lance Moss TV. Lance, what's up?
Nothing much, Eric. It's a pleasure to meet you.
what's up, Lance? How you doing?
All right.
Well, Eric, you were interested in wrestling and WWE and Glow back in the day, but which one would you say inspired you the most?
Obviously WWE. The man side of me, wanted to watch Glow, just hot chicks kicking ass. I mean, who's gonna say no to that? But obviously, the whole WWE thing, especially the Attitude Era, was the one that really, really did it for me. So yeah, most definitely WWE.
Now, when you were in the WWE, um, you were in a recent interview and you said that I guess you had a clash with the creative management.
Well, maybe yeah.
Oh, okay. The way I heard, I guess. Um, oh, anyways, I guess you don't recall. So,
No,
well,
no. You just give me the full story because now I want to hear it. What happened?
well, anyway, I guess the idea is when you were speaking with Vince, he told you how to act a certain way, and then I guess when
Yeah,
you're into creative, they tried telling you something else, and they said you're gonna listen to us and listen to Vince, and I guess you said I'm gonna listen to Vince.
yeah, yeah. It did happen because like hold on. Yeah, I'm listening to my wife. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. This is what happens when you live in a house full of kids.
Oh, believe me,
Oh,
been there, done that.
hold on. I'm gonna go into Spanish mode here for a second. ¿Qué pasó? Dame, dame la tapa. Dame la tapa, papi. Mira, tienes el teléfono aquí. Toma, mira, toma, juega con el teléfono. Ahí.
That's
Okay.
a language I
Cuéntate ahí.
haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I got triplets, so I got overtime. I got to work overtime all the time. So
I hear that.
yeah. So yeah, it did happen because Vince would tell me to do something, and then when creative came to me, they were telling me not the total opposite, but something that did not resemble exactly what Vince wanted. They would lay out the matches in a way that I was like, Vince doesn't want me to do that. And they will get into a little bit of an attitude, and they always had something negative to say or whatnot, and it's something like damn if you do, damn if you don't. And I do remember when I think when they broke me and Vicky up, which was the biggest mistake they could ever make. I They gave me a script, and I had the match. I went over the script and all that. Okay, we did it. Cool. He said, "Okay, we're gonna do this live after your match." I'm like, "Cool, no problem." I go have the match. When I'm coming back, I'm like, "Can you give me the script that I gave you for you to hold on for me?" Yeah, sure. It's right here in my pocket. The guy gives it to me. They had changed the whole thing, like all the lines that I had, everything that I had that I already kind of like had in my head. They changed them completely. I'm like, this is not the one that I gave you. Yeah, yeah, that's the one. That's the one. No, man, I'm telling you, this is not the one that I gave you. And no, no, that's the one. That's the one. You better do that one or else. I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. So I did it, and that was that. But there was always that clash. I mean, Vince is the one that calls the shots, but at the same time, that's why he's got all these producers. That he's gotta relay. He's gotta give everyone, okay, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and everyone's gotta report back to him. But basically, he's the one calling the shots. But if I'm getting something from a producer, I'm thinking that's the thing that's coming from Vince. So you don't know if Vince changed his mind or the producer changed it or what went down. At the same time, they everybody's gotta they want to put their own spin on things. Like this guy thinks it should be this way, that guy thinks it should be that way, and then there's the work. And because I back in my day, I used to work this way. I'm like, yeah, that was back you and your day. This is my time now. This is the way that I would do it. I'm just getting the guideline and the outline for everything from you. But there was always that uncertainty that you didn't know which way to go. It's the same thing with Zack Ryder. I think he's like the prime example of this whole thing. I met him back when he was one of the Majors brothers with Brian back in Deep South. Young kids, full of fire, and they reminded me of the Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty type of vibe. And when we were in Deep South, I remember clear as day, they told us, you get over here in developmental, you guys get over with the developmental crowd, eventually you'll get over in the main roster.
Well, I'm going to
But
pass it over to Joseph Knight. Joe, over to you.
Well, Eric, one of the main questions I wanted to ask you was how was it working with Vicky Guerrero? That's always been something on my mind. Being the widow of Eddie Guerrero. Uh, was Vicky tough to work with? How was she, working with you behind the scenes?
not at all. I mean, Vicky and I got along great. We were always joking with each other and bothering each other and try to come up with ideas. And we actually had our we went our separate our we went out of our way to go do a photo shoot in the WWE backstage. We did a photo shoot. We were pitching ideas all the time. It was great. It was a pleasure working with her. I always had in the back of my head that I was like, man, I'm doing this angle with the widow Eddie Guerrero. I mean, I could never in a million years come even close to be as good as Eddie. And I mean, I don't think there's a wrestler in the planet today or ever that could be as good as Eddie. To me, Eddie was like the total package. He was like the total package. He could do the high flying. He could wrestle in the mat. He could entertain you. He could piss you off. He could do everything. And there's a bunch of guys that could do it, but to me, Eddie was special. I don't know what it was, but it was special. I was watching some clips the other day, and I watched when he did the live cheat steal thing with some of the guys, and when he won the title and all that, and it was like so special to watch him work, and everything he did meant something, and he took the time for the subtleties and all that. I mean, he's one of my all time favorites, but to be able to work with his widow, I mean, to me, it was a pleasure to work with her. She was easygoing. She was cool with me. We got along great. It was an awesome experience.
Now, my other question is, I know from there you also weren't for Carlos Colon's World Wrestling Council. I grew up watching that. I'm from New York City, and I grew up watching, knowing Hercules Ayala, the Invaders, the Mexicos. Um, what was the other ones? Abdullah the Butcher with Carlos Colon. How was it working for that kind of company? It's a different company. I know today when you were in it, but how was it working? Going to Puerto Rico, working for that famous company. For Puerto Ricans, it's a famous company. How was it?
Uh, to be honest, it was like some sort of graduation, so to speak. Is when I started. When I broke in with IWA. IWA was more WWE oriented. They had the locker rooms were together, and everybody went through the over the match and talked about everything. After a while, I left the company. I stayed home for a few months, and then after a few months after I decided to stay home, I got a call from one of the boys, and they invited me over, and they talked to Carlos, and I went to talk to Carlos, and I started working for Carlos, and it was like completely was like night and day. They still had the old school mentality of like separate locker rooms. So basically, you just got to finish, and you had to go out there and work, and it was good. I mean, you got that the extra experience to be able to work on the fly, which is a lost art form, so to speak, um, for some guys. Um, it was a great experience. I even got to work with Abdullah the Butcher one time. I worked with that Cheeky Star. I don't know if you probably heard of him too. Cheeky
Yeah, I,
Star,
I
Ray
remember Chicken
Gonzalez,
Star. Yeah,
Bronco. I got to work with all those guys. And I even got to work with Carlos one time. And it was a great learning experience. I enjoyed it.
I appreciate that. And excuse me, Lance, over to you.
Since you've worked in the U.S. and Mexico, what would you say the main differences is in working in the two countries?
U.S. Working in the U.S. is more like storyline oriented. It's more of telling a story with the match, as opposed to in Mexico, they tell their story with the segments and the promos. By the time you get to the ring, is spot fest. I mean, it's their culture. The culture is the wrestling is built like that. They'll do a 20 minute spot, run all up and down the ring, and jump outside, and boom, 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 and no one. I mean, they barely sell. They hit a huge move. They jump to the outside. They hit a senton bomb from the top rope to the outside, on top of the table, and on top of the crowd. I mean, they literally hit the crowd, and no one complains. And they just get up and no sell. As opposed to in WWE, they're trying to be more reality based. They because of the MMA and all that crap. And they're trying to tell a story through the match, and with the segments and the vignettes and all that. Another thing, I mean, it did happen to me. I was working in Mexico, and the guy threw me outside, and he's like, "Okay, let's brawl through the crowd." I throw the guy over the rail, and he spins in midair, and he kicks a lady in the face,
Oh my
like
God!
Damn.
literally
Wow!
kicked her and knocked her on her ass.
Damn.
I looked, I was in shock. I'm like, "We're gonna get sued." And the lady just got up and she started like, rubbing her face a little bit. Her husband, "Are you okay? Come on, keep going. Oh, dale, cabrón." I'm like, "Holy shit, did it just happen? Oh my God, she just got kicked, knocked on her ass." And okay, well, yeah, sure. I wanted to punch her after that. I'm front of the book. But
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna tell you.
I was, I
I'm
was
gonna
in
tell you.
shock.
I'll tell you a quick story, Eric. I have worked
Yeah.
Jason Knight and Rock and Rebel, both from ECW, and
Okay.
they it was a work. They grabbed the fan, flipped the fan over the rail, started beating on him. It was a work. It was one of the guys as a fan. Everybody in attendance kind of freaked out. They were like, they're beating up on a fan. And did they say, oh man, they're going to get sued? No, it's like the fans wanted to keep going. And I just said, it's fan appreciation night. Next.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow!
Anyway, you were trained by one of my favorite guys from ECW, Super Crazy, I believe.
Yeah.
How was he as a trainer?
To be honest, he was great. He was phenomenal. Very understanding of what guys could and couldn't do. Because I told him uh, at that time we were working 4 nights a week. When the summer came around, they added Victor Quinones started selling shows to summer camp. So we were doing like Wednesday afternoon shows. Sometimes we would do like a Thursday or Friday double shot. And super crazy when he was working with IWA, he was working basically 7 nights a week because he had a part-time job at a gym. Tuesdays he would train the guys. Wednesdays we would have the show. He had to work after that or before that, and we'll have shows Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So basically, he was like exhausted. But he was amazing as a trainer. Like I told him, listen, I mean, no disrespect, I would like to learn as much as I can from you. I just don't think that that my body is, you know, built to be able to do like high flying moves. I've always been like heavy, especially in the legs. My legs are extremely heavy, and if someone bumps, it's okay, it's a regular bump. But when I bump, it's a little bit harder. So so I told him I don't think I'll be a high flyer like yourself or any other high flyer in history. So he understood that, but he did show me a lot how to properly take bumps, how to properly get in and out of the ring, how to properly catch someone when they were doing a high flying move, uh, and he was just a world of knowledge. I mean, he was a young guy who has been in Mexico, all over Europe, U.S., Puerto Rico, Japan, all these places. I mean, of course, if you want to learn, you're gonna learn. Learning starts from the person that wants to learn. If the person doesn't want to learn, they're not gonna learn. So, in my opinion, he was a great teacher.
All right. Now, I have a couple of questions from our fans over in the HWR chat room. Um, both Kevin Diago, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, forgive me, and then Baltimore E, both pretty much said that you felt you got the shit end of the deal while working with WWE. What are your thoughts?
I mean, what can I say? Yeah, I got fired. It sucks. But the first, this is like when you're born. That's the first day of the rest of your life, and you know you're gonna die someday. So as soon as you sign that contract with WWE, you know that eventually you're gonna get fired. It's everyone on it's on everyone's head. It's on everyone's mind. They all thinking about it. Some guys worry a little bit more about it than others. I do honestly think that even though I was on a contract for 4, maybe 5 years, um, I was always being fed a lot of, I'll say, BS now, because I guess it was BS from all the writers. Oh yeah, everything is great. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm like, why am I not getting called up? I see all these guys coming in and getting called up right away, and I mean, I've been here for a while. Well, we haven't found the right storyline for you. And I'm like, okay, but I've pitched like a million storylines, and I've seen a couple of those storylines actually take place in the main roster without me, obviously. What's going on? Well, they don't tell me anything, or, I think everything you're doing is great and all that. So basically, it was a little bit of BS on their part. Um, then, what you call it? I started getting a little bit of a push in FCW, and I thought everything was going to turn around, and I was going to actually get called up, and it still took like a year after that for me to get called up. And then they tell me, oh yeah, we're changing things a little bit, and then out of the blue, boom, I get fired. And it sucks because I've seen that it has happened with a bunch of guys. They get chance after chance after chance in the main roster, and they, okay, if this one doesn't work, we're gonna go with this one, and this one doesn't work, we're gonna go with that one, and they change their storyline so much, but they keep them around until something clicks, you know, and
Mm.
but with them, you never know. Look at, like, again, I was trying to make a point with Zack Ryder. He got over huge on the internet. He got over huge with the fans. They gave him the U.S. title only to lose it the next night, and they redid the same thing with the IC title after Mania. What does he have to do? I mean, he's got a great look. He's different. Fans love him. Shit, do something with the guy,
You
or
know,
let him go.
and that's a fair point. But we've said here a couple of times how some wrestlers could become complacent because they feel that they're just getting a job and go with the flow. In Zack Ryder's case, he is a great wrestler. I'm not really a fan of his gimmick because I think it's a little bit old and they need to do something new. And I do agree to a point he is getting the shit under the stick. But I want to move on. We usually ask a question. This is a typical HWR question. Do you have any funny road stories you can tell us?
Funny road stories.
Any that won't get you in trouble with your
Ah,
wife.
nah, nah,
Or they
no,
will.
no. No, I mean, I got a few. Let me see. I remember we were, it was Tyler Rex, Yoshitatsu, Mike Knox, Ray Gordy, and myself. We're riding in, we're in Wisconsin, and we had a minivan, and we're driving around and all that, and we taking all these back roads because that was like the fastest way to get to. I think we were going to Milwaukee. Can't remember. So we're driving around and all that, and out of the blue, the minivan breaks down. Boom! Tyler Rex is driving. Boom! It breaks down, and he goes like, "Oh." I'm like, "Oh, what?" I think the car just stopped. Yeah, yeah, the car's off. Okay, okay, no, hold on. So he stops. He tries to start the car. Car starts. Boom. All right. Boom. Car breaks down again. Oh shit. All right. So let's see what happens. So we grab the paperwork. We start calling the rental place. We're in the middle of nowhere. There's like nothing around us. Nothing. Just like trees and snow. And he gets finally calls the rental place. Starts talking to the lady. And Ray Gordy is like, "Give me the phone." Hey, listen, bitch. And I'm like, dude, tone it the fuck down a little bit. He's like, listen, we're in the middle of nowhere and the minivan just broke down. We need to get to work and we need to get to a place to rest so we can go to work tomorrow early. And she said, well, could you please tell me where you guys at? And he's like, I don't know where we at. We're in Wisconsin. We have no idea exactly where. There were like no landmarks nor anything to identify to tell the lady where we were. and and he's getting aggravated, and he's just going off on her. Listen, you fucking bitch! I gotta get to fucking work tomorrow. I gotta fucking rest. I gotta do this. Mike Knox is in the back chilling. Yoshitatsu has no idea what the fuck's going on. Tyler Rex is like freaking out, and I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Shit, I'll sleep in the car. I don't care. And he just went at it for a little bit, and she hangs up. Boom. He's like, this bitch just hung up on me. EP, you fucking call this bitch right now. So I just called her. And listen, excuse my friend here for a second. Could you please just help us? She said, well, if you could please tell me where you guys at, I could send a tow truck to pick you guys up. It's like, we don't need a tow truck. Could you send another van? She's like, well, no, because all of our locations are closed right now. So we cannot send you a van. At this point, like half of the roster have drove by us, and the security lady, I forgot her name. She was very nice. Uh, I forgot her name. She stopped by and she called John and she called everyone for us and just write my number down just in case something happens. Let me know and call me, come pick you guys up. I said, don't worry. So everyone just left, and we were able to start the car and move to a lodge. But before that, I'm telling the lady, listen, if I could tell you something where we at, I would, but I have no idea. And she said, could you? I mean, is there a sign or something? I'm like, lady, I'm gonna look outside. I see trees and snow. I see no shit. What the hell do you want me to do? She said, well, could you find a place to stay nearby? And Father Rex finally got some service. He ended up finding a lodge like 5 minutes off, 5 minutes away from there, and we stayed there the night. Yoshitatsu still had no fucking clue what was going on at that point. He just knew. He just kept like playing with his phone. He had no idea what was going on until we finally pull up. He's like, why you stop? I'm like, dude, haven't you noticed the car broke down like an hour ago? Oh, car no work? Oh, that sucks. I didn't know. Dude, what the fuck? We've been arguing with everyone on the phone, and you had like no idea that was going on. We ended up staying the night, and finally the next day we were picked up. But it was a little bit intense, especially seeing Ray Gordy just go off on the lady. That was like a little bit too much.
Well, we want to thank you, Eric, for coming on the show. Are you currently active wrestling, or do you plan on wrestling in the future?
Yeah, I actually I was on and off doing the shows for this company, WWL World Wrestling League. We hit a couple snags on the way, and the guy closed and reopened and closed again and reopened again. Now he's gonna reopen the company again, and we have our first show April 30th here in Bayamon, Puerto Rico. Hopefully things will go better this time around. Apparently we got like good backup from the TV station. It's a local TV station. We're planning on running shows in Florida eventually, maybe Texas and Mexico. So hopefully, Eric Escobar will hit the states again in the near future. So
You,
let's see what happens.
hey, Rick, if I can ask him one more question before we let him go.
Sure.
Eric, I wanted to ask you this question. Have Have you ever thought of going to TNA?
To be honest, it has always crossed my mind, but I don't think they're interested at all. I mean, I spoke to D'Lo Brown at the time. It was a funny story because I sent him a message, "Hey, D'Lo, how you doing? Yada yada yada. Listen, I'm trying to. I had no idea he was working for TNA, so I sent him a message asking, "Hey, can I use you as a reference for me to go to TNA? In case something comes up." It's like, you don't need any reference because I'm the one in charge of that. And I'm like, oh, sweet. Well, can we sit down and talk business? It's like, well, right now the roster, yada yada yada. But I'll keep you in mind just in case something comes up. I guess he left the company. I'm not sure. Yes, he left the company or something like that. George Tyrus, is that his name? Tyrus, yeah. Tyrus
Yeah.
has told me that allegedly he has spoken to them about me and all that, but nothing ever comes up. So I would love to work for GNA. I mean, even if it's a small deal just to do the TVs. I don't think I can handle my full schedule right now because of my kids and all that. Like, I want to watch them grow. I want to be around. I want them to see daddy almost every night. I mean, for me to leave the house 1 or 2 days a week, that's fine. But to leave the house like 5 days a week, like a WWE full schedule, yeah, I don't think that's gonna work for me right now. It's,
Okay.
my babies are only like 3 years old right now, so
Well, we definitely wish you the best of luck, and once again, thank you for coming on the show.
thank you for having me, guys. Hopefully we'll get to do it again.
Absolutely. Well, this about wraps up this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Radio. We have the classic wrestling manager, Joseph Knight. What do you got, Joe? What do you got going on? Where can people find you?
Well, they can find me on Facebook on my group, which is facebook.com groups DK Retro, where I talk about classic game, anything classic, from retro gaming, from classic television, classic movies, even classic wrestling. You can also follow me on my Twitter at JKnightCWA, where I pretty much spend the day spewing away like a nut. Um, Besides that, Rick, I'm part of the HWR crew, and that's pretty much it.
All right. And Lance, over to you. You're over at Lance Moss TV at youtube.com at Lance Moss TV. Well, that was a fuck up. And what do you got going on over there?
I got album reviews, NASCAR discussion videos, redneck gourmet cooking videos, musical equipment reviews. I just began a series of guitar build videos today, and on Wednesday nights I go live with Lance Moss TV and friends. I never know who's going to show up, and hit me up on Twitter. It's at Lance Moss TV.
And for the Eric Escobar and the Hardcore crew, I'm your Hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you when we see you.